welcome to another episode of Conversation with a Chef. I'm Jo Ritty and I love sharing with you the conversations I get to have with talented and passionate chefs. It's the backstory, if you will, to the food they're putting up. I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the land where this conversation takes place, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Today I'm chatting to Khristina Mulyono at Her. Khristina didn't always want to be a chef, but when she moved to Melbourne from Indonesia, studying was a way in. She already had a degree in English literature and a teaching career under her belt, so she thought, why not try something else, and embarked on a career as a pastry chef. From talking to Khristina, I get the feeling that she would be incredible at anything she turned her hand to, but luckily for the Melbourne dining public, it's desserts and cakes, and we get to reap the delicious benefits. I loved meeting and talking to Khristina. She's passionate yet calm and has some wonderful perspectives on life and hospitality. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. You, Jo?
Yes, nice to meet
Khristina,
you.
nice to meet you. I've been listening to
have you?
some of your podcasts.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually friends with Remia as well. So I
okay.
reached out to her. Remia, tell me what it's like.
I love that, and I like too what it's done. Often when I've spoken to people, like Remia likes all my photos now, and we have little chats, which is really nice.
It's a chance to network. It's
a
small community. Well, not small, but it's a like-minded community we have.
I'd like to think so, and I'd like to think that hospitality is, that's what it's about. It's about connectedness and all of those things.
Yeah.
But let's start with you. So where are you from originally?
I'm from Indonesia.
Yeah. And did food play a big part in life when you were growing up in Indonesia?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I grew up from very humble beginning, and it's, I'm Chinese Indonesian, so my parents pretty much cook, Chinese food at home, but at the same time, that in Malaysia and Singapore, there's that culture of Peranakan cuisine. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's sort of a mixture between the Chinese influence and the local Malay sort of cuisine that they have traditionally there. So it becomes like a national cuisine. So that's what I grew up eating. Yeah. My mum's cooking, really.
Yes, yeah. And at what point did you think, I'd like to be a chef?
At no point during my childhood. So actually my parents placed a very strong emphasis on academic achievement. I was the first one in my family to actually go to university. They never had the chance to go to university. They never had any tertiary education. So I studied English literature.
Oh, did you?
And
wow.
I was an English teacher for many years in my country before I decided to move here.
Oh, amazing.
So, it's like if you asked 20-year-old Khristina do you want to be a chef? I would say probably not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But, it's food has definitely played a massive part in my growing up.
Yeah.
I think, you have your Asian mom. That's a language of love. That's, I remember Chinese New Year and she'd be boiling, 3 kilos of 5 kilos, probably more likely, of pineapple to turn into jam, and then we make kilos of pineapple tarts that we put in jars, and we just kind of give away to all our relatives.
Yeah.
And I have a big, it's a big family. My dad had 6 brothers, so
wow,
I had 20 cousins. So it did play a big part of my life.
Yeah, right. And so was it moving here that things changed for you in terms of thinking of a different direction?
Yeah, absolutely. I think moving to Melbourne was sort of obviously the way to come here was to become a student, and I knew at that time I just wanted to live abroad, live overseas and experience that. And I did a lot of interpreting with language education institutes. So I kind of knew the system. I knew, I've heard of William Angus Institute. I've heard of Box Hill Tape. I've heard of Melbourne University and things like that. I worked with the education fair and I became interpreter. So it came down to two choices for me at that time. Either I wanted to take Master of Education and just be a teacher or a lecturer in university, or patisserie. You can't have any more polar opposite than that.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, my mom made cakes and things like that growing up. So I grew up in the kitchen. And at that point in my life, I was like, all right, this is a very serious path, teaching and, things like that. And then the other one is a very fun, tactile, something really different, a whole new adventure. Which one do I choose? And understanding that it is a lot easier to get jobs in hospitality than it is for me to actually be able to find a teaching experience in Melbourne as an international student, as a non-Australian or non-permanent resident.
Yeah.
Hospitality was probably the more practical choice for me. So that's what I chose.
It's sort of interesting, isn't it? Because I did a lot of study. So I did a doctorate, a PhD in medieval French literature, which does not help the world at all. And at the end of it, I worked in restaurants for 3 years in front of house, and I loved it so much because it was so different, and I think it was like a different kind of immediate reaction from people who were, I don't know, it just felt very, a lot more hands-on and immediate than academia. But I'm a teacher now, a French teacher, and I can see that, and what you're doing, some of the good cakes and desserts I've seen are so beautiful and creative.
Thank
so I can
you.
see like the difference, and then that sort of instant. You must see people when they see those, their faces light up, and
I think we that's where we get our energy from as well. That's where we get, like the joy of working in hospitality. I think I'm just my mum's daughter. I like to feed people. In a nutshell.
Yeah. The pastry is quite different, isn't it? Because it's quite exact. I feel like it would be a bit more, you've got to be really careful with your ingredients to get what you
it is. I think I often say that you sort of have to be slightly on the OCD side to be a good pastry chef. But I think there's something comforting about, like life is not always, straightforward. It's not always linear. There's a lot of things that is out of your control. And I find that in pastry, if you follow the recipes, if you follow, the procedure, you'll end up getting, like a similar things all the time. Not always, but like it's another way of, like feeling like you're in control sometimes, almost.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that before. That's a good point. So when you chose pastry right from the start to study and do that. So how long did that take?
Well, it's actually quite a long journey for me because it was the visa requirement at that time, because obviously, like you come to a completely different country, you have to navigate the immigration law at that time, and it continually, it changes every few years. I think at that time, they wouldn't grant me the visa if I didn't stay for a minimum of 2.5 years. So I just kind of, I'll just do 2.5 years of study, so I'll just do up to advanced diploma, and then I'll just kind of decide what I want to do from there. But I do know that I intend to stay in the country, so I actually booked a longer visa. I just said I want to learn tertiary education as well, and at that time I booked a hospitality management with Victoria University, which I ended up changing to culinary management with William Angus. So I studied for 5 years, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But at the same time, while I was studying, I was out there in the industry, I was working, I got like a job at actually William Angus short courses, where they do like the short courses. That's where you see the cakes, because I actually used to teach with them. I teach people how to make cakes and things like that.
Okay.
And then, I got a job in a catering company, and then like I met Nick. When I could work full time, I ended up working at his restaurant. So that was my first full-time job at restaurant gig, was with Nick Bennett.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah.
But like since then, I've done a few other things. I have been a chocolatier with Cocoa Black. Yeah, so I think I just like to do different things. I like to learn other side of pastry, not just restaurant, but it's just fun. There's a lot of different facets.
I think it sort of seems as though, think about how I say this, but the best chefs are those that continue to be curious and find out more, and it sounds like you've been doing that, having a go at some of those different aspects and finding out more. I think it's really interesting. I just read David Chang's memoir, Eat a Peach, about his restaurant journey of Momofuku, and he talks about how chefs should be like lobsters and shedding their skin and being vulnerable, and then toughening up again, and then there's another season where they shed their skin again. And I'm thinking that's sort of about change and putting yourself in that position of trying new things, and well, it's amazing. And so here, what tell me about the desserts at her.
We do a few different desserts here, but we have obviously French inspired. So we've got the more traditional one like baba, but we put our own twist with, instead of using rum, we use Frangelico. So we've got Frangelico baba, we've got like a beautiful white chocolate diplomat that comes in a glass with rhubarb, because we like to keep everything kind of, on the seasonal side. And at the moment we also have a sourdough ice cream sandwich. That's one of the things that is creative, I think, because we make our sourdough in-house.
I've seen Nick Bennett's feet.
Yes, so it's a learning curve for me, because we make a lot of things in-house. Sourdough, the lavash for the cheese plate, the fruit bread for the cheese plate, the milk buns for the burgers. We do the milk bun in loaf form for the pissaladière and things like that. But I guess it keeps things interesting. So on top of the dessert, we also, have to look after all of those things. So, because we make our sourdough in house, there's a lot of love going in it. Yeah. So you obviously have wastage as well in the restaurant. So we kind of turn that wastage into a different product, which is an ice cream. We infuse it into the milk and we turn it into ice cream, and I think, why not? It's delicious.
Great. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And so who comes up, are you coming up with the ideas for the desserts, or is it more of a team approach?
At the moment, I'm actually looking after not just her, so I'm actually looking after BKK as well, which is a Thai place, and I'm also still looking after Abri and Abri Float. I would have to say, especially here in her, it's a sort of a lot of hands involved. Like I work with Josh as well, Josh Rudd, our head chef. We bounce off each other in terms of idea, in terms of what's practical for them as well to serve, in terms of what's exciting, what's seasonal. Nick also has a bit of an input sometimes here and there. Yeah, it's great. It's great collaboration with everyone.
Yeah.
Like in terms of BKK as well, the head chef at BKK, and we've got the sous chef Nada, who has extensive pastry experience as well when she was at Ciccone. So there's a lot of people to bounce off ideas from, which I find, it's great. It just keeps things interesting, and you learn things from them, and you bounce off things. It's just, it's an interesting process.
And do you have cookbooks, or do you look at other people's Instagram? So it sounds like the team has lots of input, but and inspiration, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my food heroes is probably Khristina Mulyono. It's funny you mentioned David Chang, but Khristina Mulyono is my absolute hero, because she, how far she's come, and I've got all her cookbooks, I've got all her cake recipes, are beautiful. And, obviously Instagram now, I think everyone gets, influence from Instagram. But there are a lot of great chefs out there, and I just discovered Claire Savitz, who is an editor in, I think she's an editor at New York Times. I can't remember the exact publication, but she's just published this book that is wonderful, and she's got like a podcast and YouTube series as well. Okay. So there's a lot of inspiration that we can draw. Like in terms of cake, you mentioned cakes. Catherine Sabbath, who was a teacher as well, turned cake maker. She was probably the pioneer in terms of those cake with ridiculous, outrageous color and colorful drip. So I think that's you can find inspiration everywhere these days.
And do you cook at home or do you bake at home, or is it just all here?
Well, actually, when I have a few days off, I do like to bake at home. My partner does enjoy eating my baked goods. And I think, like the last couple of years, the lockdown has been a bit of a blessing and a curse. I just sort of baked a lot more during lockdown and do things that I would never imagine being able to have the time to do at home. Like, for example, I did a few batches of croissants, and I actually did really enjoy it because I would never imagine being able to do that at home, but actually it's very achievable. That's where I found Claire Savitz, because she's got like a croissant tutorial video, and that absolutely refreshed what I learned from years and years ago when I was studying how to make it at William Anglis. But I do still bake at home. It's a bit unthinkable if you think about, you work here and you bake for 8 hours and then you go home and you bake again. But I find I like, like I said, I like to feed people. So my partner's family are in Melbourne. So, his mom, his dad, his sister, everyone's birthday, they would get a cake for me.
Yeah, amazing.
No
lucky
ends.
Them.
Lucky them. No ends, ifs or buts. But I'm happy to share what I'm able to do, and I just like the look on their faces when they eat the cake, when they cut it, and they're like, oh, there's layers inside it, there's jam inside it. It's just
some of those cakes I've seen, they're so tall. It feels like they're quite architectural, really, aren't they?
Skyscrapers. That's a trend these days. Narrow but tall.
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. And so, with all that in mind, what would your advice be to young people who are thinking of getting into hospitality and becoming a chef?
I think, like a lot of people would say getting into an apprenticeship, which I think, that's the most sensible thing you can do. Like if you can get an apprenticeship somewhere good where you can learn, where you can get a mentor per se. But at the same time, I came here as an international student. I didn't really have that luxury of just becoming an apprentice. I had to actually study and then found my way in. I say if you're passionate about it, you would find a way to get into the industry. If you think about it, looking back now, I started in my late 20s. Sometimes I think, what was I thinking? But I got there in the end. I think, if you're passionate about it, if you're, determined, there are always ways, and especially now, like our hospitality industry is just screaming out for.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with Khristina Mulyono from Her. If you want to experience all the greatness for yourself, which of course you do, you can check out Her, which features some of Christina's creations, on Instagram at her_Melbourne. As for me, I'm also on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef, and if you want to read the chat, you can head to www.conversationwithachef.com. I would really love it if you told a friend about my chats, and of course you can follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Once again, thanks for listening and have a great day.